I haven't been to the zoo since my eldest, Kira, who is now 4.5, was 6 months old. My sister and I brought Mom for her birthday. And since Alzheimer's, she's deteriorated rapidly. I am robbed of a lot because my mom and I were so close, and now she's just a shell of what she was.
My right side, I can't, and I'm right-handed, I can't manipulate my hand, it shakes on me. So I had to learn to shave with the left hand, and it takes me longer to do things.
She probably hasn't called me by name for at least 4 years, I guess. And I think she knows me and recognizes my voice, but I'm not really sure. I don't know if she knows that I'm her husband any longer.
I've been able to pick up something. If I'm not careful, I'll fall right on my face. I know at one point I won't be able to walk. But those are the things I've read about Parkinson's. That's what it does to you.
What global crisis could truly be more terrifying than unprecedented worldwide rates of disease that steal our mind, our memory, our movement? Diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. But in science grows hope. At Penn, that hope is rooted in the Center for Neurodegenerative Disease Research, led by John Trojanowski and Virginia Lee.
These are two outstanding scientists and visionary thinkers who have focused their attention on neurodegenerative diseases. We've supported them by setting up a center which embraces many of their ideas and brings in colleagues to work with them on new ideas in how to understand and treat these set of conditions.
They were in a minority very early on, looking at a protein that may not have had much popularity, but that has changed. And the reason why that has changed is because of Dr. Lee and Dr. Trojanowski's persistence and their ability to move that science forward.
Virginia and John have taken a different track and have followed a different path, looking at abnormalities within the cell, which is now called the tau hypothesis. Their approach is probably the ultimate explanation to what's happening.
John and Virginia have contributed major findings to the field of Alzheimer's disease and other dementias as well, and their research has really shaped the field over many years.
Since their inception, CNDR, the Institute on Aging at the University of Pennsylvania, and their affiliates have led the field in strength and breadth of investigation, dissemination of new knowledge, and advancing hope. They produce over 100 scientific papers a year, analyze spinal fluid and blood for the largest diagnostic study of Alzheimer's disease ever conducted, and train researchers from across the nation and the world.
To see the variation in the pathology.
I think we have the best team that we've ever had, and having all the right people in various areas of the laboratory, biochemistry, morphology, transgenic mouse making and analysis, and are addressing the most exciting questions that I think we've addressed ever. Many around the country are realizing that while perfect knowledge about Alzheimer's disease may take another 1,000 years, the imperfect knowledge we now have is enough to give us traction in developing drugs for Alzheimer's disease. So pharmaceutical companies will often build a drug program around knowledge that comes from an academic center like ours, rather than doing all the basic discovery science. So we do the basic discovery science, but now we also want to do the drug discovery science. And the challenge there is finding money to do this.
I know John and Virginia as among the most passionate people at Penn for really making a contribution to improving the world. They exemplify the integration of knowledge, and that gives them a different, far more promising way of really coming to terms with what is a complex set of diseases. And to talk to them is to have hope that diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases can really be conquered.
This integrative approach has produced bedrock discoveries which have redirected scientific effort worldwide.
We've proven that TDP-43 by itself can cause ALS. And the field of ALS research, many clinical trials was conducted in the last 5 years, and without any success. Our observation of TDP-43 being the more important molecule provided paradigm shift. Key leaders in this area are now working on TDP-43, and they recognize the importance of what we have found.
Hang on. Okay.
Much of the energy that is CNDR comes from the unique chemistry of the personal and scientific partnership of Trojanowski and Lee.
We look back on a number of milestones in our research career with great personal satisfaction because we did it together.
There are a few husband-wife teams. I would say probably none as colorful as John and Virginia. They're very visible in the field because of their productivity and their colorful personalities and their interesting and entertaining ways of interacting with each other. They're quite lovely people, but also aggressive and ruthless in pursuing the cause of neurological disease.
If you had to see them in a lab or talk to each other, you'd wonder how they live together, because they feed on critique of each other and correction in such a wonderful way.
I think that John and I have complementary skills in terms of our research expertise, and it makes a lot of sense to work together. I think the best approach to a successful marriage, particularly if you work together, is to have everything hang out.
All effort, nurturing young researchers, following through on new discovery, and finding the funding to allow the work to continue is toward a greater goal, to make a difference for the individuals and families who struggle with these terrible diseases.
Alzheimer's disease is an epidemic that will sink our economy. It's embarrassing, quite frankly, as an American, to have to admit that our investment in Alzheimer's disease is surpassed by what other countries are doing when we are the richest country on earth. But increasingly, we're looking for philanthropic partners, for donors who can help support our research, knowing what we've accomplished in the past, knowing the programs we have in progress now. I think donors can be confident that we will deliver the goods.
I mean, the pain it causes the family. I look at my mother and I know she would hate what it does to the family, and it's just the research needs to get there. And I think, moving towards a cure and putting the money where it needs to be, is my personal hope. And, I know my brother and sister and I all have the fear. Are we going to do the same thing to our family?